Ele é uma lenda viva do rock e do metal. Hoje eu tenho a honra e o enorme prazer de tomar uma com KK Downing, do KK's Priest.
I'm just checking out the guitars behind you, yeah? Is that your collection?
Antes de continuar, não esquece de curtir o vídeo, assinar o canal, ativar as notificações e considere ser um membro aqui do nosso clube. Dá uma olhada nas vantagens.
Curte nosso conteúdo? Então vem participar do Clube Tubes. Por uma pequena quantia você vai ter acesso ao grupo do clube no WhatsApp, conteúdos exclusivos, assistir aos vídeos novos antes de todo mundo, dar nota nas resenhas e até escolher tema de episódio. Isso entre outras vantagens, hein? Mais detalhes na descrição. Vem tomar uma com a gente!
KK Downing, first of all, it's an honor and a great pleasure to speak with you. I'm a huge Priest fan. And I was very happy when you announced the KK's Priest project. It was very nice of you to make room in your schedule to talk to your Brazilian fans. So, thanks for being here, man.
Yes, it's an absolute pleasure, and thank you for interviewing me, and thank you all of the Brazilian fans for being so patient. And I'm very honoured to deliver up the first album from KK's Priest, released today, which is fantastic news.
Yeah. So how are you with the pandemic and stuff? How are you holding on?
Yeah, we're doing okay. Like I say, it's been obviously recording and songwriting and obviously doing interviews and promotion.
Yeah.
You know. That's okay, you know, we do all that indoors, so, you know, as we all know, it's quite frustrating, but we're hoping to put some tours together, and we'll come down and see you guys, and very much like to come back to Brazil and play some concerts, and obviously we have very fond memories of Brazil and South America, so as soon as we can make that happen, we will.
I want to go back in time a little bit and ask you about what made you play the guitar. If I'm right, you saw a live concert of Jimi Hendrix, right? Was he the one who made you want to be a guitar player?
Yeah, he was the main one, but there was an awful lot of great bands around at the time, obviously Cream, John Mayall and Rory Gallagher. There was lots of great people about. But the great Jimi Hendrix was, it literally was a phenomenal experience to see him, especially in the early days. When I say the early days, because Jimmy wasn't, as we know, around for that long, literally just kind of 4 years or so, you know. But so much happened in that time. But when he first came to England, he was very much a free spirit, and to see him on the stage doing his absolute 100% incredible show was an inspiration, obviously, I'm sure, to many people, not just myself.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Do you remember what was your first guitar?
Yeah, I think my first guitar was some kind of homemade thing. You know, it was. You know, it was a bit like, I guess, you know, it was a bit like Eddie's first guitar. I think his famous guitar, the red and white one, it didn't have a scratch plate, you could see all the insides, but, you know, my first real serious guitar was a Gibson SG Junior, just with the one pickup, you know. Which I was very, very proud of, because it was a Gibson, you know. It wasn't a homemade hybrid thing. You know?
Yeah, I know the feeling. So, after more than 40 years with Judas Priest, you spent a decade away from the stage. What made you want to make music again?
Well, I guess that during that period of time, I was kind of always doing things. I did do some special guesting, I did do a little bit of songwriting, I was helping younger bands, I was doing some producing, you know, I wrote my book, I ended up doing a couple of live performances, and I guess it was being back on stage again with the live performances and meeting up with Ripper and Les Binks, you know, obviously, and of course the other guys would continue to close the door on me, not to have me back in the band. They said that they were never going to do that, and they were happy with the way that they were. So I figured that if I was going to have to go it kind of alone, then I would do that. But you know, I called a couple of friends up, and it all felt very comfortable and like turning back the clock. And the songwriting process, that came about very quickly, and it was very pleasurable. So just things moved forward very, very quickly, you know.
Yeah.
Very quickly. I quickly appointed a record label and management, and we had a great tour booked in 2020, but it got cancelled. We had some tour dates again this year, but they got cancelled, unfortunately. But at least now we've had the opportunity to present the record, to promote the record, and now we can turn our focus onto putting some live shows together, and hopefully we can come back to Brazil as soon as we possibly can, and South America.
Yeah. KK, we have some supporters on the channel, and one of the benefits is asking questions to our guests. And I have some questions here. Lapa de Lima wants to know about what you were talking. How was the choice of your current bandmates? I mean, were there auditions, or was it by affinity? And will Les Binks return to the band at some point?
Yes, Les is going to play some live shows with us. You know, I'm not exactly sure how far it will travel, but definitely Les is going to be playing some of those great songs with us on stage. So that's great news. And but yeah. No, there weren't any auditions. Obviously, I knew Ripper was an obvious choice.
Yeah.
AJ lives close to me. He grew up in the same town as me. I know his parents, and his guitar playing just got better and better every year. He's a great addition because he's kind of like a younger version of me, I guess, really. And Tony Newton on bass, I knew Tony. Tony actually formed Voodoo Six with Richie Faulkner, years ago. And but I've known Tony. Tony's a friend. Tony actually did the out-front mixing for me at the festival Bloodstock when I played with Ross the Boss, and Tony also mixed the gig with Dave Ellefson and Ripper, the guys. And Tony's a great all-round guy. First and foremost, I mean, his bass playing is fantastic. But he's a producer, songwriter. He sings, plays guitar, engineers. So Tony, but the thing is, I'd seen Tony play live, and I like Tony's live performance as well. Lots of energy, and he's exactly what I was looking for. And with our drummer, Sean L. from San Diego, he'd been playing in Ripper's band with the Three Tremors, and I saw Sean playing, songs like Painkiller and stuff like that on the drums. And also I like the way he presents himself and the way he plays. He's just like an animal on the drums, and I like how he looks so wild and kind of, that archetypal drummer image, really appeals to me. And yeah, he's a really cool guy and a good beer drinker, so a great addition to the band.
Yeah, I have another question from one of our supporters. Marcel Melo is asking, the two albums recorded with Team Ripper Owens, Jugulator and Demolition, were not very well accepted by most fans at the time of their release, but today many consider them cult classics, especially Jugulator, which has a growing legends of fans. Do you think they were Jugulator mostly ahead of their time?
I think the answer to that is yes. I think it was, you know. But I do think that those albums did inspire a lot of younger musicians. And AJ, who's my guitarist in KK's Priest, he was 17 years old when he saw us play Jugulator on the Jugulator tour in Birmingham, England. And it was on that night he decided he wanted to be a guitar player, you know, because he was particularly inspired by me, I guess, you know, with the Flying V, and so, yeah, I think that those albums were quite an inspiration to a lot of bands that came after that, that created, you know, more heavier styles of metal, you know, and alternative styles. So possibly that's probably a good observation. Maybe they were ahead of their time. Because, as you say, people are starting to look at the albums now and revere them as credible albums.
Yeah. So congratulations on the new album. Thanks to you and your team for allowing us early access. To me, Judas Priest DNA is there, yeah? And it's present in all the songs with reference both to the early 80s and to the Painkiller and Jugulator albums. By the way, I noticed there is a clear division between the songs. Some are more heavy rock, like Raise Your Fist, and some darker ones, like Return of the Sentinel. Was this on purpose, or did it just happen?
Yeah, I think because the story goes, when I started in the late 60s, I actually traversed the road, the evolution of all of these different genres, because when I first started in Judas Priest in 1969 playing gigs, we were labelled as a progressive blues band, because people couldn't identify what music we were playing, but that went on, you know, then people labelled us as a rock band, and then they labelled us as a hard rock band, and then they labelled us, Judas Priest, they're a heavy rock band, and then they labelled us as a heavy metal band. And so all through those years and the decades, you know, as Judas Priest, we created songs, everything from one extreme to the other, from Beyond the Realms of Death and Blood Red Skies, but also to hot rocking, Parental Guidance, Living After Midnight. So we've got rock and we've got metal, and I've been all of that all of my life. And so I guess really when I go into the songwriting mood, you know, it depends on what frame of mind I'm in. But the main thing is, I aspire to make all of the songs good live songs, I hope that that's been achieved, because I want to play all of these songs live, you know. But some of them are great. They're kind of, as you say, parking lot songs. Let's put a crate of beer in the car. Let's get to the car. Let's get to the gig. Let's meet our friends. Let's have a good time. You know, Raise Your Fists. You know, Wild and Free, Brothers of the Road. Let's put that on in the car and crank it up. And you know, and this is about good time rock and metal, you know, and those songs are an essential ingredient, I think, on a metal album. But so are the other songs. They're a bit more deep, meaningful, a bit more, you know, orchestrated, and you know, so you know, to take the listener onto, you know, with all of this light and shade and these, you know, it just keeps an interest and a good flow to the record, I think, you know.
Yeah. So another supporter of our channel, Carlos Gobato, asks if we can expect more studio albums.
Yes, absolutely. Because I've already made a very, very good start on the next record, and it's sounding really good. and it will be a continuation from Sermons and Sinner.
Yeah.
It will be a continuation,
Okay.
yeah, because I think there's going to be, you know, it's not a concept, but it's a rejoicement and a celebration and a documentation, probably, and a revisitation of my whole life and legacy.
Yeah.
And I want to do it kind of all over again, in a way, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to inspire me and help me to keep being prolific, and coming up with new ideas and present those to the fans. And I'm in this situation now, like I say, I'm 70 years old next month. 70, that's scary. So, you know, I'm not saying I'm in a rush to do all of this, but I want to do all of this, you know.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, when we get the call to come out and play some gigs, that's the next thing we're going to do. As soon as that happens, we'll be there.
Okay, so, well, thanks for this interview. Do you have any message for your Brazilian fans?
Yes, I certainly do. Thank you so much for all the years and the dedication and the loyalty, you know, not just to me and the band, but to this wonderful music that we know and love. That's such a part of us. And a big thank you for your patience. I've been away for a while, but I'm going to be back in Brazil and South America playing some great shows. Look forward to seeing you as soon as we possibly can.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Bye.
É isso, esse foi o nosso bate-papo aí com o KK Downing. Se você curtiu o vídeo, então assina o canal, ativa as notificações, deixa aquele like e considere ser um membro aqui do canal. Beleza? É isso aí, valeu, até a próxima. Tchau.